Yes.
Well, according to news I just received on my BlackBerry, the latest salvo from Amazon is to reduce the price of the bigger versions even further.
Michael's reporting that that on his BlackBerry that Amazon's reduced prices even further. Yes, I saw that they were reducing something to $7.99. Oh yes, Sarah Palin's going to be sold at $7.99. You know, the thing to remember about all this is, it's actually good for the publishers and the authors that they're doing this, because Amazon, if Sarah Palin's book is, let's say, $30, I don't know how much it is. Never was tempted to buy a copy. If it, let's say, it's $30, okay, and let's say HarperCollins sells its books to Amazon at $50 off. I don't know, those reasonable numbers. Amazon's paying $15 for every copy. So now, instead of losing $5.01 on every copy, they're willing to lose $7.01 on every copy, and they will sell more copies. And Harper and Sarah Palin will keep getting more and more money. But what the publishers are worried about, and the reason that they felt they had to take back control, is what if Amazon sells another million Kindles, and then knocks on the door and says, you know what, I'm tired of selling these $9.99 books at a loss. I'd like to pay $6 from now on, please. Okay? And that's what Carolyn Reedy meant when she said, in a quote which I've seen ridiculed in a number of places, but they're, ridiculed by people who think they're smarter than Carolyn Reedy, but who probably are not. Okay? Carolyn said, we have to do this now before the ebook business gets too big. Okay? So people are going, duh, the ebook business is getting big and you're pulling out of it? Are you stupid? No. What she actually meant is before Kindle gets too big. And before we get this call from Amazon saying, sorry guys, but now the price has been cut, and at that point, they've converted enough people to Kindles that it really is a blow to the author and the publisher. They can live with it now. It's 5%, ebook sales are 5%. So they lose 5% in the early days in order to reestablish control of who can charge the prices. Now, I would say one other thing. One of the big mistakes that publishers made that has enabled this problem to happen is that they replicated the trade discounts in the ebook world. Now, consumers are aware, hey, this book shouldn't cost me $30. You didn't have to print it. Publishers' costs are lower. You shouldn't have to charge me this much. Well, publishers' costs are lower, but they ain't nearly as much lower as retailers' costs are lower. Retailers don't need a shelf. They don't need to pay in advance and hold the inventory. They don't have to handle the physical thing. They don't have to pull it off the shelves and send it back when they're done. If they've got returns, their costs dropped a lot more than the publisher's costs did when they switched to the ebook world. So when publishers gave retailers 50%, and by the way, the purpose of discount is, important point, the purpose of discount is to enable a retail mechanism to exist. Publishers need a retail mechanism. And if you don't give stores margin, stores can't exist. That's why there is margin. So they gave the 50%, but they didn't need 50%. The 50% is excessive. And any professional retailer, whether you're talking about Walmart, Kmart, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, doesn't matter, Toys R Us, any professional retailer will give away margin for market share if they can. They want the market share. That's how they put their competitors out of business. That's how they build scale. So if you give them more margin than they need, they will give the margin back to the public. So instead of the publisher saying this book is less expensive and reducing the margin themselves that they give the retailer from 50 and say giving them 20 off instead, they gave the 50 and the retailer said thank you very much, we'll cut the price. And they did. So I think that this is another, it's a very, very hard genie to put back into the bottle. Once you've given this 50% discount, to cut it back is not an easy thing to do. I think that's part of what is perhaps at play.
Let me ask a question. There are a number of people here from major publishers, and they're thinking after this presentation, oh my God, what am I going to do? Am I right? So wondering what advice, pragmatic advice you can give to somebody at one of the big publishers in terms of, as they're thinking about their career at the end of the year, they've got a break now. What kind of initiatives?
Well, I think the most important thing to remember is that the major publishers are going to shrink, not grow. Okay? So as you think about your future, you have to think outside the major publisher box. Because not every young person with brain and talent that's working for a major publisher is going to be retained and promoted over the next 5, 10, 15 years. So that's the first thing. It's like face reality, and reality is you are not in a growth area. But secondly, what I'd be thinking about is the things that we've talked about here that the major publishers are going to have to learn about ebook marketing, about creating verticals, okay? So those are things which are, here's another one, okay? When we make books today, for those of you who are editors, right? The way we make books today is that the editor works with the author to make the best book. And when the book is done, it's handed off to somebody else whose job is to make an ebook out of it, okay? And whether it's enhanced or something else, that's their job. When ebook sales get to a certain point, and I don't think it's going to be 50%, I think it's going to be 25%, 30%, it's going to turn around. It's going to be, how does the editor work with the author to make the best ebook? And then, having made the best ebook, how does somebody else take the best ebook and turn it into what we should deliver as a print book? Okay? This is inevitable. It's absolutely inevitable. There is no way that when 65% of the sales are being made as ebooks, that somebody's going to make a book first and then make an ebook out of it. It's not going to happen. So that is a change which is not going to occur evenly across all titles in a publishing house. Some niches are going to move faster than others, right? Maybe that the science fiction group is going ebook first in the way that they develop the content long before, I don't know, lifestyles, right? But this is another thing to think about, because it is not, again, it is not going to be the 50-somethings and the 60-somethings who make that adjustment. It's going to be young people who make that adjustment. And I think that that's another thing. The thing to think about is trying to lead the target. Where's the house going to need to be? But then the other thing is to think about where else can you be? What verticals interest you? What not-for-profit or profit or corporate, whatever, everybody needs content. You're a content expert. So think outside the publishing box at who needs content expertise and start targeting your career in that way. Yes?
A few minutes ago you said that the big publishers control all the big authors, and then on one of your slides you said that an opportunity is an increase in publisher to consumer contact, and that's the foundation of new businesses. And I'm just wondering what you see for the authors in this evolution, and is it that the authors themselves are going to have a more multi-opportunity business, or are they going to get some kind of like 360 deals from these new verticals to do all different kinds of things? And
well, I think, one of the things about the internet is that the answer is always all of the above, right? And the question is, in degree of emphasis and how extent for everything. Yes, I think some authors have, and more in the future will, create communities of interest where they're posting something for their fans every day, and they're conducting some sort of interaction, and they're selling a leather-bound signed edition of their book for $100 to the 3,000 people out of the 4 million that buy their book that would care, and that's going to happen. I also think that as authors do that, as anybody, the publisher is the person. The publisher's job is marketing. Okay, that's true now, right? I mean, why does the author come to a publisher? It comes to a publisher because the publisher is going to get the word of the book out better than the author can do for themselves. So when an author creates a web community where they've got people, they become marketers, right? So I would expect some major authors to become publishers or become imprints, or perhaps working under a publisher. I mean, that's another thing that can happen. But there's a lot of things that can happen, and I think that's really the way to sort of identify the opportunities, not be stuck in the old paradigms, because the old paradigms are disappearing. I think we've got our stop signal. So I want to thank you very much. They were really stimulating questions. You've been a great group, and I appreciate it.